Exercise 3 in Chapter 3, we're asked to fix the implementation of median. The definition of median is the middle value of the sorted data set. Right now, the implementation just divides by 2 the size, which works fine if you have an odd number of values because of the way that integer arithmetic works, but does not work if you have an even number of values because then it's going to bias to one or the other, but really the median is actually somewhere in between. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and fix that. This is working off of the implementation in the book. So fix median implementation here. So starting off, we actually have to think of a couple of cases. So let's go ahead and actually say that we have our double median is equal to 0. And we also have to consider the fact that we're going to be doing what's called array access. When you're doing array access, you have to make sure that your the number of values you have is greater than some values. Essentially, you want to make sure that you have at least an even number of elements, or sorry, you have more than 0 elements in the data set. So we'll say if temps.size is equal to 0, we will actually just set, we actually won't do anything. Well, I'm going to make sure that is greater than 0. So that's an important consideration there. And we're actually going to put out median here. And so that's a requirement. So now I'm going to say if temps.size modulus 2 is equal to 0, that means that we have an even number of elements. Else, we have an odd number of elements. So if we have an odd number of elements, this is actually potentially the easiest case because we can just go ahead and take whatever the value we have. So if 1 divided by 2 would give us the 0. So if we have 1 element divided by 2, that translates to 0. And if you have 3, well, divided by 2, that translates to 1. So that's fine because that's exactly in the middle. If we have, let's say, 7 divided by 2, that's going to be 3, and that also happens to be fine. So if you have this number of elements, if you have odd number, that's actually, because of the way the way that integer arithmetic works in C, this works out. So we're going to say median is just temperatures at temperatures dot size divided by 2. Okay, and that solves our problem there. And we can go ahead and fix this right here as well. And this is just going to be the median value. Now, what about even numbers? Well, if we have an even number, so let's say we have 2, so we need to take 0 and 1. So that means if we were to divide by 2, that gives us 1. So it would be, so if we had, let's say, 2, then divided by 2, that gives us 1. So that means we need to have the 0th element and first. So that would be the result we get, minus 1. And if, let's say, we had 8 divided by 2, well, that's going to give us 4. But what we really need, we actually need the third and the fourth element, or really the index third and index fourth element. So we really need third index and fourth index. So that would be whatever result we get minus 1. So now we have the math that we need to do. So that means that median is equal to, let's go ahead and do this, temps at temps.size divided by 2 minus 1. And we're going to add to it temps at temps.size, which is going to give us the other one, right? And then all of that divided by 2, and that's the average. And this should now work correctly. This is just averaging these two values together to arrive at the solution. So let's go ahead and run the code to make sure that it works. And we're going to put in some values. Let's start with something like 23, 89, and negative 5. And we expect that the solution here is going to be 23. Right? And that's what we get. Let's go ahead and run again. Let's do a little bit more elements. So 89 minus 44 minus 23, 100, and 1000. We're still doing odd. We'll get to it in a second. So we expect the median to be 89. And that's what we get. And now let's go ahead and do an even number. We'll start with the easy case, which is this 2, 23, and minus 2. All right, so that should give us negative 1. That sounds about right. And let's go ahead and do it with 6 values. And with 6 values, it's going to be, let's say, negative 100, negative 50, 0, 34, 56, and 1000. I'm doing this intentionally this way so it's easier for me to do the math in my head, and that should be the average of 0 and 34, which should just be 17. Let's make sure that's what we get, and we get 0. I wonder why that's the case. We'll probably have to debug it a little bit. If we take a closer look, the bug is actually right here because we're not dividing this one. So as I've mentioned, even programmers like myself will make silly mistakes. Now it should all work. Let's do it one more time. Negative 100, negative 50, 0, 24 for my easy math, 56, and 1000. And we get 12. Great. Okay, so now it works. As I mentioned, programmers of all ages make plenty of mistakes. Okay, this is the solution for exercise 3. We can go ahead and ship it. Thank you.